Last night, the Palmer City Council voted 5-2 to issue a permit for a gun range to operate in the Old Fred Meyer building in Palmer. Hello and welcome to the first installment of the Mat-Su Today Show. We will be exploring this and many other issues we're all talking about here in the Mat-Su area. We will strive to present both or all sides of the argument as evenly as possible so you can be armed with facts instead of just opinions when you discuss local issues. The first topic we'll cover is the discussion about what will be done with the Old Fred Meyer property in Palmer. The latest proposal has perhaps set off the largest firestorm the community has seen in recent years. The Old Fred Meyer in downtown Palmer had its grand opening in March 2004. By March 2017, 13 years later, they had outgrown the old property and opened up an expansive new concept store across the street. The city was thrilled with its new store, but soon talk began about what would become of the new vacant property in the heart of downtown Palmer. As of today, there are only 2 serious bids for the property. It was revealed last night that U-Haul is currently in contract talks with the Kroger Corporation, which owns the Old Fred Meyer site. For now, it appears that U-Haul will most likely be the new occupant of the property, but another bid is being entertained. The other bidder is Valkyrie Security and Asset Protection Incorporated, who is proposing to open a gun range and retail outlets on the property. During the April 10th regular Palmer City Council meeting, Mr. Larry Clark, who is president of Valkyrie Security and Asset Protection, requested approval of a firearm permit under Action Memorandum 18-048. The administration's initial recommendation was to, quote, provide a favorable opinion on the issue of a permit to allow Valkyrie Security and Asset Protection Incorporated to operate an indoor gun and target range within the city limits. Mr. Clark then testified about negotiations his company is having with Fred Meyer, Inc. pertaining to using their old building for a gun range. He also submitted a proposal packet outlining the plans already in place for the construction and operation of the facility. In addition to the gun range, Mr. Clark proposes additional space for retail outlets such as veteran-owned apparel companies. We've created a link to the proposal so you can read it for yourself in detail if you wish. You can find the clickable link below this video. Mr. Clark's testimony was met by concerned citizens opposed to the plan. In general, the feeling was that there was an interest for safety regarding a nearby daycare facility and post office, as well as added traffic congestion in the downtown area. Concerns about the effect on public image of the city of Palmer were also raised. A request was made for further public discussion on the matter. The council agreed and tabled their discussion for further public discussion, which would take place at the April 24th regular meeting. That meeting took place last night. The Palmer City Council chambers hosted an overcapacity crowd as concerned members of the community came out to voice their concerns on this volatile issue.
So this is the regular City Council meeting of the City of Palmer for April 24th. And clerk, would you take the roll?
For the next 2 hours, the council patiently listened to testimony that mostly duplicated concerns heard at the April 10th meeting.
This permit application should be rejected because if this business fails, there's no bonding in here to clean it up.
I think there's a fallacy if you're going to be basing decisions on fears instead of facts and plans and research, which this building has the plans.
The Palmer City Code states that manufacturing is illegal within the city unless it's essential to the business. The fact that the manufacture of weapons is in Valkyrie's long-range plan 2 years out proves that it is inessential.
It would be very unfortunate for the decision be denied based on things that have nothing to do with noise, because environmental concerns and all of those other things are already heavily regulated by other layers of government.
So certainly the F1 manufacturing and gunsmithing portion of this plan is prohibited, again, under the prohibited uses of the general commercial district.
Now, to clarify, the vote before the council last night was to approve or reject a permit to operate a gun range within the city limits of Palmer. At the heart of the issue was Palmer Municipal Code 9-74-10, which reads, "Any person or persons who shall fire any pistol, gun, rifle, pellet gun, compressed air rifle, or any other species of firearm or pellet or air rifle or pistol within the limits of the city shall be deemed an ordinance violator, provided that permits may be issued to gun clubs, associations, or bodies for gun or target practice within the limits of the city when, in the opinion of the City Council, the same would not disturb the peace, and the facilities and procedures followed conformed with the recommendations of the National Rifle Association as to safety." And that, folks, is the definition of a run-on sentence. Getting back to the meeting, the for and against camps were represented nearly equally in numbers, but issues raised did not fit neatly into two differing opinions. On the extremes of the argument were citizens who wanted no guns anywhere in the city of Palmer,
I have a problem with guns in the parking lot and more guns in town.
and those for free enterprise and allowing commercial activity to take place without government restriction.
Let's give this gentleman a chance. Okay, let's give Liberty a chance and see what he can do.
Most of those who testified, however, expressed that they had no disdain for guns or gun ranges. The sentiment was shared by both camps, but for those against the issuance of the permit, the feeling was that a gun range in the heart of downtown Palmer would not fit the image of the city. They expressed that the range should be constructed in the industrial section of town and that something more pedestrian should be constructed on the property in question.
So I would like there to be more looking into the fact whether this really fits into what we want for a downtown in Palmer.
We need an indoor range, it's just not there.
But I think that it is a very, very poor location for this. It should be an industrial area. It should be in a place that is not the Old Fred Meyer.
Gun ranges have their place in our society. They should be placed outside the downtown area in the industrial section.
The problem is there is only one other bid on the property, that is U-Haul. Is this what the citizens of Palmer would prefer to a gun range? Does this fit the image of their town? It was suggested by Councilwoman Sabrina Combs that the public contact the Kroger Corporation if they would wish to influence who wins the bid on the property.
I invited Kroger to be here tonight. I didn't get a response, but I do encourage everyone in this room to contact Kroger and let them know what you want that building to be. We don't have the option as a city to decide who buys it or really what goes in it. Kroger does, and so I do really encourage everyone in this room to reach out to Kroger.
The City Council has no power to authorize or ban legitimate business within its limits. The subject of zoning was discussed, but City Attorney Michael Gotti testified that the gun range fell under the proper zoning definition, and it was up to the council to determine a redefinition of the zoning if they wished.
I want to point out that we're talking about a noise permit for a prohibited use in a commercial district. That premise is absurd to me. It really is. Think about that for a moment. We have code that says you can build these type of facilities in our commercial district. One comes forward and says, well, we're going to build a different facility, and we don't think to go through planning and zoning? Really? I am angry about this because I think this is our administration going in the wrong direction.
But I am also a big follower of process, and I'm very concerned about the statement that Councilman LaFrance has stated. And I'd like to hear more about his belief that particular code is being set aside. If he could give us the code where he believes that it is strictly prohibited based on the zoning that we currently have and how we sidestep, because I don't want to expose the city council or the citizens of Palmer to a potential lawsuit, as he has stated.
Code 17.32.020 lists prohibited uses, and lists acceptable uses, and other uses are prohibited. And a gun range is not included in that list. So that's very clear to me. But I'm one person. The city manager is one person. We have a planning and zoning commission for a reason. Not so we can say, well, you know, we don't like that. That's okay. We're just going to push this through. Because that's what's happening here.
But planning and zoning is to write and kind of have public hearings on Title 17, and that is the code in which then we can base some of our decisions when it does get kicked up to us. And so unless I can see, you know, because from my reading of it, and apparently from the city manager's interpretation, and that's what he has to be guided upon is the code, that this was allowed, and unless somebody can show it to me where I was reading it differently, based off of whatever the title is, then to me, we're just back to the question that is before us, the noise issue.
The gun company is going to have abatement for the noise, because if you are standing outside of the building, you cannot hear any shooting going on inside the building.
But what we're dealing with is a public nuisance, and nuisance has many definitions, both legally and dictionarily.
Now, the noise. The noise is the only thing you're discussing. And according to the memorandum that I saw, the plan that I've seen from Valkyrie is that the noise will be mitigated.
And if this truly is a noise issue, then there really is no issue.
It is simply a noise situation that we're dealing with. And to me, the plans have been laid before us. It shows an engineering document that there will be no noise. So to me, this passes.
The motion passes with 5 yes, 2 no.
So how do you stand on the issue? What would you like to see in place of the old Fred Meyer? Do you want a gun range, a U-Haul depot, or something else? How would you find the funds to compete with multi-million-dollar bids already in place if you wish to see something else go up on this property? Leave your comments below. We'll continue to follow up on this story and plan on further exploring both sides of the argument, as well as entertaining ideas about what you would like to see in the heart of Palmer. Remember, the issuance of this permit does not guarantee Valkyrie will be putting a gun range into this facility. There's still time to influence the outcome of this issue. Thank you for joining the discussion. We know this issue is important to you, and your voice still can be heard.